Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! In the hidden corners of his closet, beneath layers of forgotten garments, a neglected treasure lay dormant for ages. Its mysteries were locked away, a potent reminder of the enigma he embodied. The scars on the box's exterior told tales of clandestine visits and hurried resealing. Mirror-gazing, Kaizen scrutinized himself, ruffling his mousy, close-cropped hair. His 32 years had come and gone, delivering a respectable career and a modest abode. Yet his identity was as much a mystery as ever. The visage reflected back at him might as well have been a disguise, a persona he donned so firmly that his authentic self faded from memory. Determination laced his whisper, vowing, "Not another day of subterfuge." As he reclaimed the hidden relic and placed it upon his unassuming bed, his hands betrayed a lifetime of silence, quivering with anticipation. Inside were items collected over years, a pink blouse borrowed from his sister Julie 5 years ago and never returned, a black skirt purchased online with a prepaid card, and several smaller accessories he'd accumulated during moments of courage that inevitably faded. The doorbell chimed, and Kaizen froze. He wasn't expecting anyone. Hastily shoving the box under his bed, he straightened his blue button-down shirt and adjusted his khaki pants before answering. "Package for Kaizen Rhodes," the delivery woman said, holding out a small box. "Thanks," he mumbled, taking it without meeting her eyes. After closing the door, he examined the package. He'd ordered it weeks ago during a late-night moment of bravery, a simple makeup kit. Nothing fancy, nothing that would raise suspicions if anyone happened to see it. Just the basics: foundation, concealer, mascara, and a neutral lipstick. The package joined the box beneath the bed, and Kaizen paced his apartment, arguing with himself. For years, he'd tried to ignore the feelings, the longing. The brief moments when he'd tried on Julie's clothes during high school had felt like coming home, like finally being able to breathe after years underwater. His phone buzzed. Julie. "Hey, how's my favorite brother?" Her voice carried the same warmth it always had. "I'm your only brother," he replied automatically. Details. Listen, I'm in town next weekend for that conference. Dinner?" "Sure." He hesitated, then asked, "How are the kids?" "Monsters, as usual." She laughed. "Emma's decided she wants to be a paleontologist, and Noah's currently obsessed with painting everything purple." "Sounds exhausting." "It is, but worth it." She paused. "You okay? You sound off." "Just tired. Work stuff." "All right. Text me about dinner. Love you." "Love you too." After hanging up, Kaizen returned to the bedroom and pulled out both boxes. This time, he didn't hesitate. He laid everything out on the bed: the pink blouse, the black skirt, the makeup kit, simple items that somehow held the weight of his entire identity. He changed slowly, methodically. The blouse fit loosely across his shoulders, the fabric soft against his skin. The skirt fell just above his knees. He studied himself in the mirror, noticing how the clothes simultaneously felt foreign and deeply familiar. Following a tutorial he'd watched countless times but never implemented, he applied foundation, concealer, a touch of blush. His hands grew steadier with each step. When he finished with a coat of soft pink lipstick, he barely recognized the person in the mirror. "Hello?" he whispered to his reflection. And then, after a moment's hesitation, "Hello, Ruby." The name had come to him years ago, during one of those secret moments in Julie's room. Ruby, like the gemstone, precious, valuable, strong, a name that felt right somehow. Ruby smiled at herself in the mirror, and for the first time in years, the smile reached her eyes. That night, she took photos. Just a few, careful to capture only her face and outfit, nothing that would make her identifiable. She created a new social media account with the handle @RubyandBloom and posted a single picture with the caption, "Day 1 of becoming me." She deleted the post 20 minutes later, overcome with panic. But the next day, she posted again, and the day after, small, cautious steps into a world that felt simultaneously terrifying and exhilarating. A week later, Ruby sat across from Julie at a downtown restaurant, wearing her male costume, the button-down shirt, the khaki pants, the short brown hair without product or style. She pushed pasta around her plate while Julie talked about her conference. "So then this guy from Seattle tries to tell me that my entire research methodology is flawed, and I just..." Julie stopped. "Seriously, what's going on? You haven't heard a word I've said." "Sorry." Kaizen set down his fork. "I've just got a lot on my mind." "Share with the class?" Kaizen looked at his sister, his best friend, his confidant through childhood, the person who'd stood up for him against bullies and parents and the world. He thought about telling her everything right then. The words formed in his throat, but fear trapped them there. "Just work stress," he said instead. "Boring stuff." Julie squinted suspiciously, but didn't push. "Well, boring or not, I'm here if you need to talk." "I know, thanks." When Julie left town the next day, Ruby emerged again. This time, she added small silver earrings to her ensemble. The makeup went on more smoothly, with steadier hands and growing confidence. She posted 3 photos this time and let them stay up. By the end of the month, @RubyandBloom had 78 followers. Most were other transgender women or crossdressers sharing their own journeys, offering tips on makeup application or how to find clothes that fit properly. Ruby studied their advice, implemented their suggestions, and slowly began to interact. "Love your eye makeup. What brand do you use?" asked a follower named Marissa Dawn. "Thanks. Just started with a basic drugstore palette. Still learning," Ruby replied, the simple interaction sending thrills through her body. The online community became a lifeline. Each like, each supportive comment, each shared experience helped Ruby grow bolder. She purchased a dark brown wig with soft waves that fell past her shoulders, matching her natural hair color, but offering the length she'd always secretly wanted. When she put it on, adjusting it carefully over her short hair, something clicked into place. Ruby stared at her reflection for a long time that day, cataloging the familiar and unfamiliar. The same brown eyes, now enhanced with mascara. The same nose, now contoured slightly. The same lips, now glossed pink. And now, framing it all, flowing brown hair that transformed her entire appearance. "There you are," she whispered to herself. That weekend, Ruby did something she'd never dared before. She ordered delivery while dressed as herself. Heart pounding, she applied her makeup, put on the pink blouse and black skirt, adjusted her wig, and waited for the doorbell. When it rang, she nearly called the whole thing off. But something propelled her forward, perhaps the weeks of growing confidence, perhaps simple hunger, perhaps the need to exist in the world as herself, even if just for a brief interaction. "Delivery," called a voice through the door. Ruby opened it, meeting the delivery man's eyes directly. Thank you. He handed over the bag of Chinese food. Enjoy your meal, ma'am. Ma'am? The word echoed in Ruby's mind long after the door closed. Such a simple word, yet it contained multitudes. Recognition, acknowledgement, correctness. That night, Ruby posted a new photo, this time with the caption, "Someone called me ma'am today. I've never felt more seen." The post garnered over 100 likes, far more than any previous one. Comments poured in. "That first ma'am is magical! Congrats! You look beautiful, girl. Your journey is inspiring. Keep being you." Ruby's followers grew to over 200, then 300. She began posting more frequently, documenting her evolving style. The pink blouse gave way to other tops, a lavender sweater, a white blouse with delicate embroidery, a casual green t-shirt that somehow looked feminine on her frame. She added jewelry, experimenting with necklaces and bracelets. Her makeup skills improved dramatically, guided by tutorials and community feedback. 2 months into her journey, Ruby received a message from a follower named Elena Evermore. "There's a support group for trans women and cross-dressers meeting at the community center on Maple Street, Tuesdays at 7. You might find it helpful. No pressure, just wanted to let you know." Ruby stared at the message for a long time. Online interaction was one thing. Controlled, distant, safe. A real-life meeting was something else entirely. The thought made her palms sweat. She didn't respond to the message, but the information stayed with her. Each Tuesday, she found herself thinking about the meeting, wondering what it would be like to be in a room with others who understood, who saw her as she saw herself. On the third Tuesday after receiving the message, Ruby stood in front of her closet, considering options. If she were going to attend, hypothetically, what would she wear? Not the pink blouse and black skirt. Those felt like beginner clothes now. She had better options. She selected a burgundy dress with 3/4 sleeves. Conservative, but undeniably feminine. She paired it with black tights and low heels. Jewelry kept minimal with just silver studs and a thin bracelet. Her brown wig was becoming easier to style, and she arranged it in loose waves that framed her face. "Just to see how the outfit looks," she told herself as she applied her makeup. "Just to try something new." At 6:45 p.m., Ruby found herself driving toward the community center, her heart racing. She parked 3 blocks away, not fully committed to actually entering the building. For 15 minutes, she sat in her car, alternating between checking her appearance in the rearview mirror and watching people enter the center. They looked ordinary, different ages, styles, backgrounds, but all walking with purpose, some with nervousness, some with confidence. At 7:05, Ruby opened her car door. At 7:06, she closed it again. At 7:10, she finally stepped out, the cool evening air raising goosebumps on her arms. "Just walk in," she whispered to herself. "They're just people. You're just a person." The community center was well lit and surprisingly bustling for a Tuesday evening. A yoga class was letting out in one room, a book club gathered in another. Ruby followed small directional signs to room 104, where a paper sign on the door read simply, "Support Group, all welcome." She hesitated outside the door, hearing muffled voices within. Her hand hovered over the doorknob, trembling slightly. Before she could decide whether to enter, the door opened, and a tall woman with auburn hair nearly collided with her. "Oh, sorry," the woman said, stepping back. "Were you coming in? We just started." Ruby nodded, unable to find her voice. "I'm Diane," the woman said, holding the door open. "First time?" Another nod. Well, you're in the right place. Come on in. The room held about 15 people arranged in a loose circle of chairs. Conversation paused briefly as Ruby entered, then resumed as Diane led her to an empty seat. Everyone, this is... Diane looked at Ruby expectantly. Ruby, she managed, her voice soft but clear. Welcome, Ruby, several voices called out. For the next hour, Ruby mostly listened. People shared stories of triumph and setback, of acceptance and rejection, of the ongoing journey toward authenticity. Some were early in their transitions, like her. Others had been living as their true selves for years. Some identified as transgender, others as crossdressers. Others still were questioning and exploring. When the formal meeting ended, people broke into smaller conversational groups. A woman around Ruby's age approached her. First meetings are tough, she said, extending her hand. I'm Elena. Ruby recognized the name. Elena Evermore? You messaged me. Elena smiled. That's me. I thought I recognized you from your photos. Your makeup always looks amazing. Thanks to hours of practice and YouTube tutorials, Ruby admitted, feeling herself relax slightly. Thank you for telling me about this group. Of course, we all need community. Elena glanced around the room. Coming here was terrifying my first time too, but it gets easier. By the time Ruby left the center, she had Elena's phone number and plans to meet for coffee the following week. She drove home feeling lighter somehow, as if sharing the weight of her journey, even for just an evening, had made it more bearable. That night, Ruby posted a new photo in the burgundy dress with the caption, "Took a big step today. Found some of my people." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Her follower count jumped to over 500 by morning, with supportive comments flooding in. So proud of you. That dress is perfect on you. Finding community is everything. Congrats on your bravery. Over the next several months, Ruby's closet expanded dramatically. The pink blouse and black skirt were relegated to the back, replaced by dresses in various styles, blouses in silks and cottons, skirts that flowed and swayed. Her makeup collection grew from the basic starter kit to an impressive array of products organized neatly in stackable containers. She began attending the support group regularly, forming friendships that extended beyond Tuesday evenings. Coffee with Elena became a weekly tradition. Shopping trips with Diane and other group members helped Ruby find clothes that flattered her figure. Movie nights, dinners out, even a weekend hiking trip. Gradually, Ruby built a life where she could be herself more often than not. Her social media presence flourished. At Ruby and Bloom passed 1,000 followers, then 2,000. She began receiving messages from others just starting their journeys, asking for advice, seeking encouragement. The mentee became a mentor, passing along the support that had helped her find her way. Only at work did Kaizen persist, the costume now feeling more restrictive with each passing day. The brown hair kept short, the men's clothing feeling like a disguise rather than an identity. Colleagues commented occasionally that he seemed different somehow, happier, more confident, but couldn't pinpoint why. "New workout routine?" guessed his cubicle neighbor. "Something like that," Kaizen replied with a small smile. As Ruby's world expanded, Kaizen's contracted. The hours spent in male clothing became increasingly uncomfortable, a necessary charade maintained for financial security. Ruby began researching companies with inclusive policies, updating her resume, considering possibilities. And then the email arrived. Subject line, Central High 10-year reunion. Kaizen stared at the message, memories flooding back. High school had been a time of careful performance, of hiding behind achievement and quiet politeness. He'd been invisible in the ways he'd wanted to be. No one had suspected his secret, but also in ways that had left him profoundly lonely. The reunion was 3 months away, plenty of time to decline, to manufacture an excuse, to avoid confronting the past. But as Ruby read through the details, something unexpected stirred within her. Not fear, but possibility. That evening, she called Julie. "Did you get the reunion email?" she asked, still using Kaizen's voice, the male costume still firmly in place over the phone. "Yeah. Are you going?" "I wasn't sure if I could make it with the kids' schedules, but Ben said he could handle things for the weekend." "I'm thinking about it." "Really? I figured you'd avoid it like the plague. You always said high school was just something to get through."
"It was."
Kaizen paused, gathering courage.
"Julie, can you come visit this weekend? There's something I need to talk to you about."
The silence on the other end lasted only seconds, but felt eternal. "Is everything okay?" Julie finally asked, concern evident. "Yes. No, I don't know. I just need to tell you something, and it needs to be in person. I'll be there Saturday morning." The days before Julie's visit passed in a blur of anxiety and preparation. Ruby agonized over how to present herself, what to say, how to explain years of secrecy. She considered showing Julie her social media, letting the journey speak for itself through photos and captions. She practiced speeches in the mirror, trying to find words for feelings that had existed since childhood. When Saturday arrived, Ruby made a decision. Julie had always known her, had known parts of her that no one else had seen, even when those parts were hidden behind Kaizen's careful facade. The truth required vulnerability, not performance. She wore simple jeans and a green sweater that brought out the warmth in her brown hair. Her makeup was minimal, just enough to enhance rather than transform. When the doorbell rang, she took a deep breath and opened the door. Julie's expression shifted from casual greeting to shock in an instant. She stared at the person before her, familiar yet transformed, recognizable yet new. "Kaizen?" she whispered, confusion evident. "It's Ruby, actually," Ruby replied, her voice soft but steady. "Please come in. I have a lot to tell you." For a moment, Julie didn't move. Then she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around Ruby in a fierce hug. "Okay," she said simply. "I'm listening." They talked for hours. Ruby explained about the childhood fascination with Julie's clothes, the years of suppression, the recent months of discovery and growth. She showed Julie her social media account, introduced her to the community she'd built both online and in person. Julie listened, asked questions, processed. There were moments of confusion, moments of grief for the brother she thought she knew, moments of joy at seeing the authentic person emerging. "I wish you'd told me sooner," she said finally. "All those years you were struggling alone." "I wasn't ready," Ruby explained. "I had to understand it myself first." "And now? Are you transitioning fully?" "I'm still figuring that out. For now, I know that being Ruby feels right. More right than being Kaizen ever did." Julie nodded, studying her sister's face. "The reunion?" she asked, making the connection. "I'm thinking about going as myself. As Ruby. That's incredibly brave." "Or incredibly foolish." Julie smiled. "Often the same thing in my experience." She reached out and touched Ruby's hair. This suits you, by the way. You always did have Dad's good hair genes. Ruby laughed, tension breaking. Thanks. I'm growing it out, actually. The wig is just temporary. So, the reunion. Do you want company? Moral support? You'd do that? Of course. That's what sisters are for. Julie squeezed Ruby's hand. Though, fair warning, if anyone says anything unkind, I still remember how to throw a punch. The weeks before the reunion transformed into a joint project. Julie helped Ruby select the perfect outfit, a blue satin gown that was elegant without being overblown, appropriate for the upscale venue without screaming for attention. They practiced introductions, planned responses to inevitable questions, discussed which former classmates might be allies. Ruby's support group rallied around her decision. Elena helped her perfect her makeup for the event. Diane offered her apartment for pre-reunion preparations, as it was closer to the venue. Others shared their own experiences with returning to spaces from their past lives, offering both caution and encouragement. The evening of the reunion arrived cool and clear. Ruby stood in Diane's bathroom, putting the finishing touches on her appearance. The blue satin gown fit perfectly, highlighting curves created through strategic undergarments and months of fitness focusing on the right muscle groups. Her brown hair was now long enough to style in a simple updo, with just a few extensions added for fullness. Her makeup enhanced her best features, while softly minimizing her more masculine ones. Julie appeared in the doorway, dressed in a simple black cocktail dress.
You look beautiful, Ruby.
I'm terrified, Ruby admitted.
I know,
But remember, you're not the scared teenager you were 10 years ago. You're a woman who knows herself, who has built a life on her own terms. Ruby nodded, drawing strength from her sister's words. Let's do this. The reunion was held at a downtown hotel ballroom, elegantly decorated with the school colors and filled with round tables surrounding a dance floor. Ruby and Julie arrived 20 minutes after the official start time, late enough that they wouldn't be the first to arrive, early enough that they wouldn't make a dramatic entrance when the room was already full. As they approached the check-in table, Ruby felt her heart racing. The woman handling registration looked up with a professional smile. "Name?" she asked. A moment's hesitation, then, "Ruby Rhodes." The woman scanned her list, frowning slightly. "I don't see a Ruby Rhodes on the RSVP list." "Try Kaizen Rhodes," Ruby said quietly. The woman's eyes widened slightly as she made the connection, but her professional demeanor held. "Of course. Here you are." She handed over 2 name tags. "Would you like me to correct the name on your tag?" "Yes, please," Ruby replied, grateful for the simple kindness. With Ruby Rhodes written neatly on her name tag, Ruby entered the ballroom, Julie at her side. The space was already half full, groups of former classmates clustered together, reminiscing and catching up. Music played at a volume that allowed conversation, and servers circulated with trays of appetizers and champagne. "Let's get drinks," Julie suggested, leading the way to the bar. Ruby nodded, grateful for the clear first objective. As they waited in line, she felt eyes on her, curious glances from former classmates trying to place her, to match her face with their memories. "2 white wines, please," Julie told the bartender, then turned to Ruby. "You okay?" "So far, no one's recognized me yet."
that might change once they see your name tag. I know.
Ruby accepted her wine glass, took a sip for courage. "Let's find our table." They were seated with 6 other classmates, a mix of people Ruby remembered vaguely but hadn't been close with. As introductions went around the table, reactions to Ruby, formerly Kaizen, varied from surprised double-takes to warm smiles of recognition. "Kaizen, from AP Physics?" asked a man Ruby recognized as a former football player. "Wow, I hardly recognized you."
"That's rather the point, Brad," his wife said, nudging him gently before turning to Ruby.
"You look lovely. I'm Caroline. We had English together senior year." Conversation flowed more easily than Ruby had anticipated. Questions about her life were general enough: where she lived, what she did for work, with no one directly addressing her transformation. Whether from politeness or discomfort, the topic remained untouched as dinner was served, and the formal program began. The class president gave a speech about the paths they'd all taken since graduation. Awards were presented for traveled farthest, most children, most career changes. A memorial slide showed photographs of 3 classmates who had passed away. Through it all, Ruby sat quietly, observing the people she'd once known, seeing how they'd changed and how they'd stayed the same. After dinner, as the formal program ended and music invited people to dance, Ruby excused herself to visit the restroom. She stood at the sink, checking her makeup, taking a moment to breathe and process the evening so far. The door opened, and a woman entered, petite, with short blonde hair. She stopped when she saw Ruby, recognition dawning slowly. "Kaizen?" she asked hesitantly. "Kaizen Rhodes?" Ruby turned fully to face her, recognition clicking into place. "Megan Parker, it's good to see you." Megan had been one of the few people Ruby, then Kaizen, had considered a friend in high school. They'd worked on the school newspaper together, sharing late nights editing copy and designing layouts. "It's Ruby now," she added when Megan continued to stare. "Ruby," Megan repeated, testing the name.
"It suits you."
"Thanks." An awkward silence stretched between them, years of distance and unfamiliarity creating a chasm that hadn't existed when they'd been teenagers, sharing secrets about strict parents and college ambitions. "I should have kept in touch," Megan finally said. "After freshman year of college, I just got busy, and then it felt too late to reach out." "Me too," Ruby admitted. "Life gets complicated." Clearly. Megan's smile softened the word. "You seem happy. Are you? Happy?" The question caught Ruby off guard with its directness, its genuine concern. She considered her answer carefully. "I am. For the first time in a long time, I am." Megan nodded. "Good. That's what matters." She gestured toward the door. "Want to catch up properly? My husband's telling the same football story he always tells, and I could use a rescue." They found a quiet corner near the back of the ballroom, 2 former friends reconnecting across the years and the changes that had shaped them. Megan shared stories of her career in marketing, her marriage, her 2 young daughters. Ruby talked about her work in graphic design, her growing side business doing makeup tutorials online, her journey to becoming herself. "I always knew there was something," Megan confessed after Ruby described her childhood fascination with feminine things. "You had this way of looking at the world, like you were watching from behind glass, never fully part of it. I didn't think anyone noticed." "I noticed. I just didn't know what I was noticing." Megan smiled ruefully. "High school doesn't exactly prepare you to recognize someone else's gender journey." More former classmates approached as the evening progressed. Some were awkward, some embraced Ruby immediately, a few kept their distance. Julie remained nearby, watchful, but allowing Ruby to navigate the interactions on her own terms. When the DJ announced the last dance of the evening, Ruby found herself surrounded by a small group of former friends. Megan, 2 guys from the debate team, a girl who'd sat behind her in calculus, people who'd known parts of Kaizen, now meeting Ruby. "Dance with us," Megan urged, as a popular song from their senior year began playing. And so Ruby did, moving to music she remembered from a different life, surrounded by people who were both strangers and deeply familiar. In that moment, past and present aligned, not seamlessly but honestly. She was Ruby now, but she carried Kaizen's memories, Kaizen's history. The journey between them wasn't a straight line, but a complex web of experiences, choices, revelations. As the song ended and the lights came up, Ruby caught sight of her reflection in a decorative mirror across the room, the blue satin gown catching the light, her brown hair slightly tousled from dancing, her face flushed with exertion and emotion. She saw herself clearly, perhaps for the first time. Not a disguise, not a costume, but a person complete. Julie appeared at her side, smiling. "Ready to head out?" Ruby nodded, gathering her purse. As they walked toward the exit, pausing to say goodbyes, she felt a curious sense of closure. The high school chapter that had once seemed unfinished now had an ending. Not the one she'd expected, but one that opened the door to whatever came next. Outside, the night air was cool against her skin. Ruby looked up at the stars, bright against the dark sky. "Thank you for coming with me," she told Julie. "Always," Julie replied, linking her arm through Ruby's. "So, what's next on Ruby's journey?" Ruby considered the question, the possibilities stretching before her like constellations, vast, beautiful, full of light. "Everything," she answered. "Everything authentic." They walked together toward the car, 2 sisters under the stars, moving forward.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!